Live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3. Had to think there of my genealogy live interviews. So it looks as if I've gotten a good audience on Facebook watching it, so I may continue to do it via this way for the foreseeable. Although I do know there are going to be some on Instagram because it's just the way they've been arranged. They are not going to be. But nevertheless, tonight I'm bringing on my guest, Miya Jensen, the Polynesian genealogist. And
Hi,
there we go.
everybody.
Hello, Miya.
Hi, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Happy to have you. Now,
Thank you.
let's get straight into it. So, for those who don't know you, could you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, sure. So, aloha, everybody. My name is Miya Jensen. I was born and raised in Laie, Hawaii. I'm the oldest of 5 children. I left home to come to school out here in Utah. And after a wonderful series of events, I found family history. And I majored in family history at BYU, and my emphasis is Polynesian family history work. So after graduating, I created my own social media and decided to name myself the Polynesian genealogist because there's no one else there like me. So I love what I do. I not only talk about Polynesian genealogy, but I'm a huge proponent of bringing young people into the field. Also working on representing underrepresented populations and peoples. So that includes the young, that includes Black and Indigenous communities and peoples. So I'm really big on all of that. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here.
And it's great to have you. And I mean, the fact that I like about you is that you're pioneering in your own field with Indigenous and Polynesian genealogy. If I did, you'd probably be the first one that would come to mind in that field. I don't know of anyone else who does it. So yeah, you are definitely pioneering in that section. And obviously, no problem. And what got you into genealogy?
Yeah, so since I was a little kid, I mean, I've always loved being around the older folks and I loved hearing their stories, talking to them, and, hearing about their life. But it wasn't until I left home to go to college that I really, I missed home a lot. I was homesick, very homesick. And I remember the learning stories of my ancestors who came out here to Utah before me and their hardships and what they had to endure when they came here. And it kind of made my homesickness go away and it made me feel very comforted. But it wasn't until later, in like a few years later, that I realized that family history was important. And what happened was I was struggling a lot with my mental health. So I was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety. And I was doing things to help me. So like going to therapy, surrounding myself with positive and uplifting people in my family and in my community. And, so I was working really hard on those things, but it wasn't until I started learning more about the stories of my ancestors and wanting to research them more that I found the healing side of family history work. And that really roped me in because I did experience this almost this liberation in my mind and in my heart as I was trying to recover and heal through the struggles of mental health. And so I got involved. I started researching. My grandma sat me down and showed me how to, use family search and find who my ancestors were. And I haven't looked back since. And so that's honestly that's how I really got started into family history work. And so, yeah, I'm a huge proponent of that too, the healing side of genealogy work. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely think I think so. Like from what I've seen of your post on Instagram, that has been an awful. So the summary of ancestral healing and all related things to do with that. I think that has been the thing that I've known you for. And it's just like the work that you do, and you only need to look at the comments on the posts that you put up to say so like how important it is, and how you clearly do a good job of it because you got quite an audience.
You're nice. Thank you.
I'm being nice, but also it's a case of it's true because like people have commended you for it. You've gotten so much recognition, and it's well deserved. So it's just the work that you do that attracts people to it.
Thank you.
So, what resources have you found most helpful? Because I can imagine that possibly with the work that you deal with, records may be scarce.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So in terms of, doing Oceania family history work, when you go back a certain amount of time, it varies from families, but generally speaking though, so pre-colonization, pre-contact in Oceania, that's when we don't have a lot of written records. And then it goes back to like no written records, right? And it's mainly because Oceanians were an orally based society and people, and that's how they functioned and they thrived that way. And so yeah, it is a bit tricky, especially when you are holding on to the mentality of how to do genealogy work today with how our ancestors functioned back in the day. So some resources that have helped me in researching is I like to use both oral genealogies and written records and comparing them together to help create a more complete picture. I would say because of the scarcity and also the dying practice of oral traditions and genealogy, it's important to use both, use written and oral records that, there's some records that we can use that can, like primary sources that we can maybe just use as that and nothing else to support it. But all in all, like it's important to gather as many facts from as many sources as possible to help, again, create a more complete picture. And I think that's the challenge for everybody, right? Is we want a complete picture, and it does take multiple sources to help us to get that and to achieve that goal, right? So yeah, just using multiple sources to help you out there. And and also just believing too that and honoring what your ancestors have done and how they practice themselves and how they practice their cultures is, I think, to also a liberating way for Oceanians and many other indigenous cultures to practice their family history work, is to recognize and honor how our ancestors did family history back then. So yeah.
And you mentioned about oral histories, and you probably know where I'm going with this, but a while ago you did, you know what I'm talking about. You did a TikTok video which you brought onto Instagram as a reel, and it was talking about the credibility of oral sources. And I think that went viral when you posted it. I don't. No, I'm serious. I don't think I.
Yeah, I know. I'm just being shy. Oh,
No.
You're so wonderful. Thank you. Keep going.
But it's like I think if you were trying to hammer a point home, that was how you did it, and I think you did it well because you did it effective. And some people can probably do 10-minute video explaining why oral histories are credible, but yet you can condense it down into a 15-second clip. And sometimes the length of it is sometimes what makes it go viral, because like I think that's gotten over, I forgot to look before this, but I think it's gotten over like 10,000 views or something. That real, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
something like that, I think.
No, it shows the popularity of, here's someone credible, talking about oral histories, even though I may have been told that, you can't really use it as a source. Like you can't stick it down a family tree or something and say, right, here's my source. It's an oral history from someone. It's by memory or something, and there. But the fact that, you've hammered home that, yes, they are credible. Yes, you can use them. You just, have to remember them and record them with permission. But No, you hammered that point home, I think. So, obviously, I can imagine you probably got quite a bit on your plate at the moment. But what projects or ventures are you currently pursuing?
Ooh, that's a. You're right. I do have a lot going on. But it's exciting though. I love it, and I'm pushing for these things because I know how important it is to do this work. So, where to start? Okay, so I'm currently writing a paper for the Mormon History Association conference that just got accepted. It's talking about the unintended consequences of missionaries coming to Oceania and what else they brought besides their beliefs and their zealousness in teaching gospel, which was racism and white supremacy. And that's a huge deal in family history work, especially for people of color. We we see this a lot in our family history, and it can be very overwhelming to talk about. So I've graciously been welcomed to that space to address it, and to also share as one who is a member of my church, like what it means for me to see this and how do I, deal with that and wrap my head around it. So that's one project. Another project I'm actually going to launch pretty soon is a podcast show, and my good friend Michelle Franzoni Thorley, she's the one who supported me the most on this and helping me to get materials ready. But my goal is to create a podcast show that tells Oceania oral mythology as bedtime stories for families and children to listen to go to sleep, and then also to provide historical context and research behind it. So an episode will be about telling the story, sharing it as a bedtime story, and then another episode as a follow-up would be, okay, this is the breakdown, and this is the ancestral and genealogical perspectives of these stories, and how knowing this can bless you and your family, and give us more understanding of who our ancestors are. So that's another project I'm working on. I'm working on writing a book with my friend Michelle, the one I just mentioned. We want to talk about what it means to do family history work as people in the Indigenous and Black communities, and providing resources and help for people. So those are just a few projects I'm working on out of the many. So yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot going on, but it's what keeps me going. So yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
asking.
and
Yeah.
that does sound interesting about the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That telling them, so like as a story. I don't think that's quite been done, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
Thank you.
But no, like
Yeah.
projects are
Thank you.
definitely what keeps you going and keeps you entertained. Like
Mm-hmm.
you definitely need stuff to get you going, especially through now.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure obviously you got that sorted.
Thank you.
So, is there anything you know now that you learned that you wish you knew when you started?
Yeah, there's a few. Some of them, I think some of them would be, I wish I kind of knew, I wish I knew more about my ancestral perspectives when I first came into the genealogy industry. Because, yeah, I'd be a lot more further ahead in understanding those things. But I think, too, that would have helped to save me from some heartache and um, frustration in my life. Because now that I know these things, it's been like a healing balm for me. I feel a lot more steady in my life when going through trials and tribulations. But I will say, like, when I did learn these things, though, it came at the right time for me to learn it, and I'm grateful that I do know it now, and so that's why I'm sharing it more and more with people. Um, I wish too I understood how big this would be for me in terms of running my own business and trying to make important things happen. Um, but again, like, I was not ready when I was just even a few years younger. I was not ready for what is and is coming, what is here and what is coming still. I had to go through a lot of trial and error to get to where I am today. So I guess all in all, yes, I wish I did know some things, but overall, I'm grateful that I did learn them at the time that I did. And I'm happy to just keep moving forward. So, yeah.
Nice, and that is true, because obviously, like myself, there obviously are things that I wish I knew when I started. Like, obviously, don't take everything for gospel, because yeah, people before you will tell lies, and they won't. They mightn't
Mhm.
want to be truthful to you all of the time.
Yes.
Even though they kind of go like, my heritage is boring. You don't want to look into
Mm,
it or anything like
yeah.
that. But yeah, not taking things for gospel is something I wish I knew at the start, because that would have helped an awful lot. Because I had a great or great grandmother
Hmm.
that on her son's birth certificate, her her actual maiden name was Mullaney, Mullaney, but I could not find any with it. And then I found one, I think it was Mulligan or it was something similar to what it was. So I think, right, there's just been an error. This is him, and probably is him, or else he didn't really exist. Because there is no other one that actually fits the bill with him. So that's what. But it's a case of kind of, oh, it has to be Melania. It has to be this. It has to be this. It's not the other thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is something that is annoying to an extent.
Yeah.
Now, I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll ask it anyway. What aspect of genealogy do you like the most? So, finding old photos, records, the stories.
I was gonna say, oh, that's a good question. um, wow. I like what I like most about family history. Hmm. There's a two-part answer to this. So I really like, yes, I love finding the stories. Learning the context of my ancestors and their lives is it's so like I just love it so much because there's so much more to people than just like names and dates, right? It's hearing these stories and their experiences that really it brings them back to life for me and for a lot of other people. And then the second part too, as a professional genealogist researching for clients, I love when my clients are amazed and just so happy with the things that I found for them. And that has come from not just happy experiences and happy stories I find of their ancestors, but also finding the truth behind very hard things in their family history too. That it almost gives them like a sense of relief that, oh, that makes so much sense why my family has done this, this, and this. It started from way back then, or, it makes so much more sense for people knowing these truths, whether they are happy, joyful, or sad and traumatic. And so I really just like helping people discover those things, the truth, um, and then being happy with my results, happy with the work that I've done. So yeah, those are the two things I really like about family history work.
Yeah. Like I've said many times, for me, it's old photos. Like only recently did I get in my email is an old one of mine, so I don't check it often. But nevertheless, I had gotten a photo of my grandaunt on her wedding day,
Oh.
and her husband. Like her, that was kind of one of the fun leads to chase, because I still haven't found all the info on her husband yet. But my grandaunt, she um, emigrated to New York. Nobody had really heard from her apart from two nieces who moved over to New York as well. Um,
Wow.
and no one really knew much about her. She just, I heard from multiple family members one name, and that was Eschner. Later did I know that was the surname of her husband. And I was told, oh, they've gone to Chicago, and she died in Chicago. She didn't die in Chicago. She died in New York. So I don't know where the hell Chicago came from. I don't know where. Like that's another thing. Don't believe everything you hear, because I kept thinking, no, it has to be Chicago. It can't be anywhere else. But no, New York.
Right.
She didn't go outside of Brooklyn. It was all in New York. And yeah, that's another story for another time.
Yeah.
But no, I got this photo of her on her wedding day, and it was the only photo that I had of her husband. Um, so it was nice to be able to add a photo of him to the tree, even though he had been married before. But it was still nice to have it, because I mean, there was no other one for him. Like, he died 5 years after he got married, and my granddad was a widow for 16 years. So she didn't have any kids, but she did have nieces and nephews, and obviously their lines continue. Um, yeah, that's one thing that was kind of interesting for me, because I love seeing the photos, and my dad had kind of said, "Oh, he looks like my uncle or something," and it was nice that he was able to kind of see, "Oh, there's a family resemblance," or she looks like him, and it's just nice seeing that. So here's one. What's an interesting story or event you've discovered in your family's history? If you're comfortable sharing it, of course.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Let's see. Oh yes. Okay. So my grandma, my dad's mom. So just as a bit of context, my grandma and my dad, they're full Samoan. So they belong to one of the island nations of the Pacific, right? And my I didn't know this, but back it up a little bit, but because of quarantine and the pandemic, I'm not able to go see my grandma or a lot of people, right? And my grandma, she lives in Los Angeles, California. And so to keep in touch with her, I decided to call her often and just ask her about her life and, do my best to record her stories. So when I called her, I was like, Grandma, I'd love to hear more about your life. And she has just been so gracious to talk about her experience. And so she shared with me how why she decided to leave Samoa, American Samoa, to come to the US. And she was only 12 or 14 when she told me, she's like, I had this feeling as a child that I needed to leave my family and go to America. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, it was just as a child. And I begged my parents for years to let me go, and they finally did. So she went on a boat. This is before planes, right? So she got on a boat in American Samoa and she went all the way to Hawaii. And she went to the local high school there on the North Shore where I would have gone to school, but I went to a private school instead. And so she went to school there. And then she found out that she learned that her mom had a previous marriage and had a daughter from that previous marriage. So she had an older sister she didn't know about. And she found her and got in contact with her. And she was living in California. And so my grandma, who was living with her uncle in Laie, where I grew up at the time, and she was like, I found my sister. She's telling her friends and her family about it. And they're like, okay, whatever. But one of her friends was like, what are you gonna do about it? And she said, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go to my sister. So she didn't tell her uncle. She just got a plane ticket and she left. Like, she left everybody behind again, and she went to California. And I asked her, like, how did you find her in the airport? Like, you didn't have a cell phone, you didn't have anything to like guide you. But she was able to talk to her sister on the phone before she flew, and she's like, yeah, this is where I'm going to land, and this is, what gate I'm going to be at. And she said she stood out there in the gate and looked around to see, like, okay, I'm going to try to find who my sister is, because she didn't have a picture of her or anything. And she saw this woman walking towards her, and she's like, that girl has the same walk as my mother. And she saw her, and she's like, she went up to her, she's like, are you my sister? And she's like, yes, it's me. I'm your sister. And so they hugged, and And she actually sent me a picture of them together. Let me pull it out because I'd love to show you. So she showed me a picture, and she was, she went to her sister when she was really young, but this picture is of her and her sister when she was 19. And I just love this picture so much, and of that story. Oh wait, never mind. Sorry, she sent me the picture. Sorry, maybe I should have had this out earlier.
Fine. There was one when I had my interview with Lisa Buckner. I couldn't find my question sheet, so I was basically doing it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had the sheet. I had the sheet, but it was kind of, I didn't have my sheet at the time, and it was just, it was so annoying because no matter how many times I did the questions, I could not remember them. And it was just
good.
And it was just whenever there was a trigger word, I remembered, that's it, and then asked her then. But no, it was fun talking to her, but it was not a fun time trying to remember the questions.
Oh, you're good. I realized I think I left the picture in my scanner. It's in the office. So anyways, there's a picture of them together that she sent me recently, and they just look so beautiful, and yeah, they definitely look like sisters. So anyways, that was a recent story I discovered, and it was really fun hearing that. And I was like, that's where our family gets our adventurous spirit from, and our willingness to just go, like drop everything and just go to do stuff is from my grandma. And so yeah, I love that story so much, and she's just awesome. I've gotten a lot closer to her because, learning these stories has been very enlightening for me and my family. So yeah.
That's really interesting, and the fact that she had a sister, and it was just the big emotional hello. That just sounds very heartwarming.
Thank you.
So, what type of record do you like most?
Oh, it changes all the time, I will say. So currently, my favorite record is probably delayed birth certificates in Hawaii. So they, originally Hawaii, like they didn't have they didn't have a vital record system set up, and it wasn't really required for the people to have a vital record. But as things changed and Hawaii became a state, they required people to have a birth certificate. And so people applied for their birth certificates after they were born. And so they were a lot older. And you see, they have full on transcribed interviews in there to verify someone's birth, verify someone's information that they provide to the government. So that contains a lot of great genealogical information. They have photos, they have information about who their parents were, where they were born, a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to find normally. And so that's one record type I always tell my clients, go look in there. If I don't have time to, I'm like, please go look in this collection. Like, it's valuable. It has great valuable information on there. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. The fact that you have, possible interviews that you can look at, and obviously words from the people that obviously they were conducted with. Because when my great grandfather applied for his military pension, there was some oral accounts and things, and I haven't gotten around to looking at all of it, but he did speak in quite a bit of it, and it was quite nice to see. And he lived to the ripe old age of 96 and died in 1986. So my mother had met him, and it's nice as always that she can tell me about him, because she said, he grew up in Dungarvan, and I remember going to his house, and and there was one photo. It's not a great quality one, but it was him standing in the ruins, just looking out a window or something, and she was kind of saying, that's the grand that I remember. But of course, the kind of ones that you kind of know him for, he was much younger. So 1930s, 40s. But it was still interesting to see, the photos and just kind of hearing the stories about it. Because of course I wouldn't have met him. I would have been minus 17. So not quite yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would probably be mine. So what? And I can imagine you're going to have quite a lot to say with this. But what does genealogy mean to you?
Oh, yes. um well, to me it means everything, and in the sense that there had to be a millennia of ancestors in order for me to be here today. And that's true for everybody. Every ancestor, everybody that's come before us has had to come first in order for us to be here. And so in a sense, genealogy for me, it means it's an act of gratitude and thankfulness because again, they had to come first. And in some ways, I know for some people they don't necessarily like who their ancestors are or what their ancestors did, and that's totally valid because the human experience, everyone is imperfect, and not everyone made or has done good and valiant things. And to me, though, knowing and participating in genealogy though means that in understanding those things about your ancestors, um, it helps us to make better choices today. So we get to, and we have the power to be good ancestors now, because eventually we are going to be an ancestor to somebody. And even if none of us have direct descendants like children, like the family, though, the human family, we are all connected in some way. And if they're not your blood relatives, you can claim spiritual ancestors too. I truly believe in that. And so why not have us be good ancestors now? So choose to make and do things that will bless your posterity and bless the human family now. So that doesn't have to be like big, grand things. It can be even the small and simple things. So, like, taking care of yourself, go wash your face, go get a good night's rest, exercise, eat good food, make meaningful and impactful relationships, and choose to foster those. Go see a therapist if you need help with your mental health. Write in your journal or document your life the way you want to and the way you love to. Because when you do those things, it is only going to help those who are going to come after you, your posterity. And so to me, in again, knowing and participating in genealogy prepares me for that. And it helps me to encourage everybody else to do the same too. And I would also say too, genealogy work is also a work of, to me, it means healing. It means healing I'm religious, so it means in helping to heal and to forgive the sins and the wrongdoings of past generations. Um, because again, in understanding those things, we can choose to do things better and be better and encourage everyone else around us to do the same and to be more loving and be more kind, be more open, be more generous, be more forgiving, be more kind and caring and accepting. Because again, that is only going to help and not hurt. So, yeah, genealogy means all of that, that and so much more to me. But yes, I would say in those few words and few seconds I have, that's what it means to me.
I think you worded that very nicely. So, what now? Obviously, with times are changing and more young people getting into genealogy, like myself. Yeah,
Hey, we did
yeah.
it.
What advice would you give to a young person starting out?
Oh, I would tell them, well, first of all, welcome to the club. We love having you here. We want more of you here. We need more of you here. I would tell them that no matter what, that their perspective and their experience matters, and that if they don't feel like they are welcome to a seat at the table, go make your own table. Invite me and I'll come sit with you too, because we can do this. We can make it happen. And again, like whatever you're passionate about, whatever you love to do, and like bring that to the table. You don't have to dismiss or let go of who you are in order to participate in this work. That's a myth. If you've ever heard that, I've heard that. Don't listen to it. Don't believe it. There's so many ways to contribute to this work, and don't be intimidated by what some there's some elitism in this work. I will say, I'll be very honest about that. There's some people who think that in order to be a professional, you have to meet these standards, which again, I get that helps to regulate things. But all in all, though, like that doesn't discredit those who still want to be part of this work. You can come as however and whoever you are. And it doesn't matter how young or old you come into this game, like everybody's perspective and experience is so unique and special. So please don't ever forget that, and don't ever let anybody intimidate you out of the work either. Yeah, come talk to me and I'll back you up. So I'll be there to help you out. I'll be in your corner. Just know that this work can and will change your life, and will yeah, it might be hard, just like a lot of good things. There's a lot of hardships that come with it. And in whatever you're aspiring to be, whether that be a professional, whether that be putting in and bringing a different angle into the industry, like whatever you want it to be, there might be some hardships, but just know that you have your ancestors backing you up, there to help you and to love you and to bless you. So look to them, learn from them, because again, they came before us, and because they did, they know things more than we do. And so look to them, learn from them, um, reach out to them, and again, they'll be there to help you along the way. So that's what I would say in a nutshell. All my young fellows out there, I love you already, even if I don't know you. Welcome.
Nice. And in your own opinion, do you think there is kind of like a sufficient platform for, young genealogists to actually, communicate and interact with people their own age?
Oh, that's a good question. There's multiple, I would say. Recently, I've really gotten into Clubhouse. I don't know if you've ever heard of the app before, but I love Clubhouse. For those who may not know what it is, it's basically kind of like a live interactive podcast. So it's all audio. All you do is come in and you can join clubs and join rooms and listen to what people are saying, or participate by coming on the metaphorical stage and sharing your 2 cents. But that's a great place for a lot of people to come and just talk. And it takes away pressure from posting things, from like, oh, I got to create content. Like there's none of that. The most you do is either go on stage to speak or schedule something to a room for people to join in the conversation. So I think that's one really good place. Again, we do have quite a few genealogists on there. I want to highlight my Black brothers and sisters who've been on there from the get-go. They have a very strong following and foundation on Clubhouse. They are killing the game. So I love listening in on their conversations and just learning from them, because they are so well versed on the app and in having wonderful and meaningful conversations. So our Black brothers and sisters on there. There's more, though, other genealogists coming on the platform. But I will say we don't have as many young people. Like I don't even know who else is young like me who's on there. Not as many people. So if you want to join on, let me know. It's an invite-only app. And right now, it's only an Apple app, so there's no Android users. I'm sorry, that's not me. That's Clubhouse. That's their role and their thing right now. But if you are an Apple user, if you are a young genealogist, I think that's a really good place, a good platform for people to come on and talk, and also hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you got to say. Tell me, So yeah, Clubhouse is where it's at for me.
Perfect. So I think with that, I might wrap this up. So thank you so much, Miya, for coming on. You've been a lovely guest and a very entertaining one. And it's nice to hear your perspective, because obviously your view on kind of genealogy might be different with sort of the way you bring sort of genealogy, so like whatever perspective you bring to it. So I thought it'd be necessary to bring you on. So
It's an
with
honor, really.
that, I shall end. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will announce my next guest fairly soon. So stay tuned for that, and see you all next week.